All right. Welcome to the podcast. We're on episode 7 already. Somehow we've made it this far. You've got myself, Coach John. We have Coach Taylor, Coach Scott, Coach Tanner. And Tanner, can you introduce the fifth coach here?
Yeah, this is Coach Shelby. I really think I might need to get a paternity test on it because she feel like she's too cute to be mine. That's what my dad said, anyways. But yeah, Shelby's joining us.
She's really cute. She's a good baby.
She's
Yeah,
so far she's a needy little baby, but she's a good baby. She's a good girl so far. I might have to mute my mic a few times on this podcast. Just fair warning.
I was going to say we'll see how she does throughout the podcast. And Tanner, just give us a quick update. How it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, she's 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks yesterday, so she's 22 days. So not even 1 month old yet.
Okay, and how's fatherhood? You loving it?
Dude, if I'm being honest, 100% honest, it hasn't been nearly as hard as I thought it was going to be, but I think that's mainly because I have an amazing wife that covers so much of it. There's been a few sleepless nights, but dude, I've been able to work. I've been able to train. My wife's just amazing. I'll just put it that way. Okay. Like, I'm not going to take credit for it. My wife's amazing. So it's been really, she's made my life so much easier, and she's an incredible mother so far. So yeah, I'm blessed.
Okay,
It's not much you can do for a baby that age anyway, as a guy. It's
Dude,
like taking care
I
of
try
her.
to, yeah, I know. I change its diaper as often as I can. I'm there to help out, but obviously I'm working a lot throughout the day. But yeah, you're right. You're kind of limited on your paternal duties when you have a newborn baby. My wife's is really what's keeping it alive. If that makes sense. So
Can I just ask Taylor and Scott, because you guys both have two, at what point do they kind of become fun where, like, they start interacting a lot more and all that?
Not for a while.
Okay.
Not for a while, but like, I don't know. Once they start walking, it gets a lot more. Each stage is harder, but then more fun at the same time. It's so different. It's so different every stage.
Yeah. Every fun comes with more danger, right? Like once the
Yeah.
person they start to roll over, but then you can't just lay them on the bed anymore, right? You got to watch them now because they can move, right? And then when they start to walk, more things become hazards. But I mean,
yeah.
it happens in stages, right? But that's good fun.
Yeah. Dude, I was watching Scott's Instagram story, or maybe it was your wife's Instagram story, Scott, where you're mowing the lawn outside, and Jack's got his little mower next to you, and he's mowing the lawn with you with a little plastic mower. Bro, that was so it was precious. It was so wholesome. It was just wholesome.
And man, it makes life a lot more fun. I'm always trying to. I never want to be that grumpy dad ever. And first, and then second, I can't be anyway because they're so full of joy. It just rubs off on me, and then it's synergistic. It compounds. I just love doing stuff with them. They're like my little friends now. I think that happened at age, I don't know, 2.5 or something, where I could sit them down in front of my lifts, do more stuff. I pull my 3-year-old on the sled, and he loves it.
Yeah,
Doing active stuff together.
that's the best.
Yeah, awesome. And Taylor, you and Reese, you guys are outdoors a lot, hiking and biking and all that, right?
Well, man, he's 8 now, and once they become schooling age and stuff, and they're not in diapers where you can just kind of grab them and go, right? That's when they really become a lot of fun, man. But he's self-sufficient, dude. Like I said, my favorite thing to do is to do stuff with him and my little daughter, man. So being on the hill or being on a mountain bike, man, they're just keen for everything, dude. They're, like you say, the joy is always there, and they're at that age where I'm still their best friend. They think I'm super cool and the strongest dude alive, right? So this for me now is the peak fun age. I'm just worried now it's gonna be, you're gonna start getting replaced by their friends and stuff at school, dude. So
Yeah, and
enjoy the moments when they want to be around, man, for sure.
wait till they meet Scott, and they're like, "Oh, my dad's not the strongest."
They'll never know that.
I walked in my son's room. I think I think yesterday morning, sometime, and he's like, "Daddy, you're big." That's the first thing he said. I was like, "Yeah, you'll be big one day too, son." He's like, "Yeah,
Sick.
I will. I'll be bigger."
All
Just
right.
kidding.
We're at the 5 minute mark, so we're not going to. I promise every podcast will not always be about babies and children. This is
Should be.
about strength conditioning. But, so the first question we're going around, we're going to hear what's the worst or the hardest workout experience you've done? It was something I had you guys think about, the hardest workout experience you've done. Coach Taylor, why don't you start?
So I've got two of these, and I'll try to share them relatively quick. But the first one that stands out in my mind is the first summer agility conditioning workout that I did at the University of South Carolina when I got there, bro. Because you're coming out of high school. I was coming from the Pacific Northwest, which is a pretty mild temperature and stuff, but I showed up to Columbia, South Carolina in the middle of July, and we were on this super heated indoor facility with humidity that's unbelievable. You're around all these men, right? As a 17-year-old kid, you're around these full-grown men that are already conditioned and ready to go. And we went like straight into these conditioning drills where you're spending 8 minutes at each station, just running your face off, changing direction, like intensity that you've never really been around, right? And I remember feeling like I can't breathe because the air was thick and the temperature was probably, 30 degrees hotter than I was typically used to. And I remember laying on the turf, like in front of a fan, like while conditioning drills are going on after I'd thrown up, being like, I don't know if this is for me, man. Like, I don't know if I can do this. Right. But then obviously you build camaraderie, you kind of get in shape and you kind of work into it. But that for me is the number one, I guess, time where I've questioned like my capability or capacity to be around a group of people that I was around, man. Right. And then the other one's just a CrossFit workout that was like with Justin Aarons outside of Metalize. It was like a certain like 15 calories on the bike where you had to be over a certain number of calories, and then immediately followed by like a 25-meter down and back sprint with a sled. And it was you go, I go, right? And that's one of the first CrossFit workouts that's literally made me like throw up and then be, honestly, for lack of a better term, fucked for the next 3.5 hours.
Yeah, got it. How about yourself, Tanner?
I don't have as good as stories. Like, just easily the 2,000-meter row for time is probably the hardest workout I've ever done. Okay. And I've done quite a few of them, and I still feel like it's like the ultimate fitness test, at least like just for sheer capacity and grit. Because dude, anybody can do a 2K row, and anybody can push themselves, really. Like, you don't have to stop, you choose to stop. And so if you like set this time in your head and you want to hit it, then you can probably hit it, and then you can always be getting better at it. So probably the most painful workouts I've ever done, or like most uncomfortable. I shouldn't say painful. It's never painful, it's just uncomfortable. So the most discomfort I've probably experienced is literally sitting on a rowing machine where your entire body feels like it's on fire. Your lungs, your ass, your quads, everything. And then also, you know what also I think is really, really uncomfortable? And like if I see another guy doing it, I'm like, I respect that guy, is heavy ass deep front squats. Okay? I can't really think of another exercise like during a set that's so uncomfortable. Like, dude, just unload a bar with like 303 plates, 315, and basically hold it, keep your elbows up, and basically choke yourself, and then sit down and stand your ass up over and over again and try to keep from unracking the bar or letting the bar drop down. Like heavy ass deep front squats, if you're going to go into the gym and willingly do that, then I respect you. So those are
Okay.
like the two workouts that I think are the hardest that I've done many times.
Okay, we're gonna come back to you, Tanner. But how about an experience? Because maybe I'll think back to a time you did a workout called Jackie that you maybe blew. So do you have an experience that just like was bad for you? So we'll come back to you, Scott. How about
yeah,
yourself? How about a worse workout experience?
Yeah. Definitely like football So I've had some very bad CrossFit workouts myself, just because I wasn't in that kind of shape. But the football workouts were definitely the hardest I've ever done. I have two I'm thinking about. First one was with Rusty Witt, our old strength coach. It was a hurt guys workout. So I had broken my foot. I was kind of coming back from injury. We There were like 10 other guys that were injured, and he was trying to get those people uninjured, off the injury list by doing really hard workouts. I remember we had to do partner carries. All right, so someone's like holding you around your neck, like around your back, and then we did snakes throughout the whole stadium at Rice University, and we did the whole stadium, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. People, the hurt guys were dropping out, and then we reached the end, and he's like, "All right, another round," and I was like, "Let's go." And Rusty was like, "I was testing you. We're done." I'll never forget that.
Jesus
That was
Christ.
so hard. The other one, man, I played for Greg Schiano. I don't know if y'all remember that head coach. I played for Greg Schiano with the Tampa Bucks. He called me on Christmas, the very last day of the season. All right, literally Christmas Day. I was in church. My agent. I see a call from my agent. I walk out. He's like, "Hey, the Bucks want to sign you. You fly out tomorrow." So I fly out there. I had to practice every single rep on the practice squad during practice, every single rep. And then afterwards, he gathered the whole team around to do one-on-one lineman drills. And then he lined me up against every single offensive lineman down the line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back down the line after I had done every single practice rep. It was the hardest thing I ever did. I woke up the next day. I could not get out of bed. And then I had to do it again the next day. It was brutal. Those are my stories. Yeah.
Was that head coach basically just like testing you then, Scott?
Yeah.
To
And
see
I
how
made the
bad
team
you
the
wanted
next
it?
year. Yeah.
What's that? You
I
made the team the
next year. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow. And so he singled you out. Did he do that to other players, or was he specifically doing that for you just because he's like, I want to see how bad this guy wants to be on the team?
Yeah.
Was that the circumstance?
Yeah. And I had been out for I'd just been at home for like 2 months, like not playing. I wasn't even sure if I was gonna, ever play again. And so you can't get into kind of football shape without actually playing football. That's what made it so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Dude,
you didn't
that's
have a training camp or
badass.
season to go through.
Well, I went through
Yeah.
training camp. I went through like half the season, but I had been out for 2 months, which can get you pretty deconditioned, in that amount of time.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember this, Scott. I remember Coach Witt. He would literally take the injured guys, like he'd have the injured group, and I feel like he always thought, and I think he was right. We had a bunch of like fucking hussies on our team that were fake injuries,
Yeah.
and he would really try to weed them out by making the injured group do harder workouts than the actual football team would do, just to get those guys back on the field and to quit, milking it. That's the way I remember it. That's correct?
That's what I'm
Same
saying.
thing.
Yeah.
Same
That's
thing
what-
at Carolina, bro. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
They
before
would
the
like-
workout, because he respected me, and so before the workout, he was like, "Hey, this is going to be a really hard ass workout, and I know you're actually injured, but show these guys
Yeah.
show up." And I was like, "All
Yeah.
right, let's do it."
Dude, I always loved Coach Witt. Always still respect that guy.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right.
John.
What about you, John?
I mean, I've got two. When you're talking about just CrossFit workouts, I don't know if you guys know one called Kalsu.
Yeah, 100 thrusters with 135.
100 thrusters, 135, but starting at the beginning and every minute on the minute, you do 5 burpees. So you do those
dude,
5
that's-
burpees as fast as possible,
That's
then
right.
the rest of the minute you do thrusters. The first time I did it, I was like, you know what, I can get it done pretty quick if I just start with, a couple 20s on the thrusters. And after 2 minutes, I blew up, and it took me another 15 to recover to start getting back to like fives again. So it was like 40 something minute just suck fest. So that was pretty bad. The second one for me is Taylor was present for this. The 2012 regionals, my first time doing a CrossFit Games competition, and this workout, it was 50, 40, 30 three times, and my lower back gave out on me, and you just had to slog it out over like a 21-minute workout. And halfway through, I was like, shit, I'm done. And, people are yelling at me, pick up the bar. And I just looked over and I was like, I can't, and I just had to sit there, people yelling at me, and just like move. So that was pretty bad.
Bro, there are times like I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. There are times where I went to a CrossFit box, and I just walked out of the workout. I was like, this isn't making me better.
And let's hear Tanner's worst one, and then let's talk about that a little bit. But Tanner, go ahead.
All right. Wait, so you want to talk about my worst CrossFit workout?
No, about
or just experience.
Just the fact that some CrossFit workouts seem like they're designed just to beat you down.
Oh, dude, they are. All right, so, dude, you want to know what CrossFit is, or at least how my perception of it is now? It's Greg Glassman, who's literally just brainwashed an entire like population of people that believe that they think they know what fitness is. Okay. And he's basically chosen whatever 27 or 29 completely arbitrary exercises and has deemed these exercises are what determine if you're fit. Okay. Muscle ups, double unders, whatever, wall balls, burpees over a box. And then you're going to throw all these random ass exercises into this big ass barrel called a hopper. Okay. And then you're going to pull out those random exercises and you're going to formulate these workouts. And then it's random. And it's essentially, it's just fucking random bullshit. Okay. And then because you do it fast or you do it for time, yes, it'll make you really tired. All right. And exhausted. And you think you just got a really good workout. And maybe you did get a good workout for that day, but that is not training. It's just random ass exercise at the end of the day. And so my biggest problem with CrossFit is like, it's not a methodology. There is no methodology to it. It's literally just taking random arbitrary exercises. You tell people to do it as fast as they can. You put them in a group setting. You have a coach pushing them. And so they're doing it fast. They're challenging themselves, but anybody can do that. All right. And it will make you just unnecessarily tired and sore and break you down. No one doing random CrossFit workouts or following CrossFit.com has ever made any long-term sustainable progress doing exercise that way. I can't even call it training because it's not training, because it's random. Okay. And so I figured that out, pretty quickly when I got into CrossFit. And then the only reason I stuck with CrossFit is because I was fucking good at it. And I was like, all right, I can make some money doing this. Just work out fast. Okay. That's simple to me. But I quickly realized it's not really what's best for people. What's best for people is getting stronger and then picking whichever form of cardiovascular conditioning that they enjoy doing, and then just do that. And you're going to make way better long-term progressible results. And you need to build a foundation in basic strength, particularly with a barbell and hopefully your body weight. Okay. So that's my biggest pet peeve with CrossFit. And I know John and Taylor, you guys, we all met in CrossFit and you guys like it. And I may have different opinions than you guys about it. I understand why CrossFit was popular. It's because it got people all in a group and it got people to push each other. All right. Taylor, John, we all came from college football. Like, we had been in large group settings pushing each other. So I think we automatically or immediately knew why CrossFit made sense for everyday general population people. Because everyday general population people, they've never competed. They've never been in a group and actually pushed themselves. And so that's why CrossFit works for a lot of people. Because essentially it just became group fitness and it got people to like get out of their comfort zones. But you can't call it training because there is no long-term goal or structure or plan doing CrossFit. Does that make sense?
All right. Does anyone have any counter argument or rebuttal?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of rebuttals about that. But
Dude,
yeah, well, I
rebut,
mean,
bro, rebut.
I can definitely say, well, the long-term goal of CrossFit is what they've defined fitness as, right? And it's increased work capacity across broad times and motor domains. That's what they're training to be able to do, to complete, variable tasks in a more proficient manner in a lot of time domains, right? Now, that's not very specific, okay? And you can obviously hammer down more specificity, but the one advantage that CrossFit has, they define what fitness is and they progress in a manner to achieve that definition. All right. Now, I think there's way better ways to contribute to overall health and fitness and wellness, man. All right. But one thing that it really did, like you said, is it brought an awareness to how a healthy lifestyle can positively impact you, and then what having a group of like-minded individuals around can do. All right. And like you said, we all come from college football. We were used to being in a group of people with camaraderie, training hard, bonding because we're doing really fucking tough physical tasks. And like you say, most people didn't get to experience that. So walking into a community of CrossFit of like-minded people was their first introduction to that. Right. So for me, the number one thing that CrossFit really did was they saved American weightlifting. Okay. They brought attention to how good Olympic weightlifting can be for the body. And they saved that sport essentially. And then number two is they basically introduced people to a community of the power of having like-minded people who care about their health and their life around you. All right. Now I think there's way better ways to achieve longevity, and that comes from strength training, right? And I think that a lot of the stuff they do, like moving at a high intensity with shitty mechanics and bad positions, is downright dangerous for the most part. All right. And that's one of the qualms with it is a small business model. There's no regulation to quality, right? You can walk into a fantastic training facility with people that know their shit and what's going on. And then you can walk into fucking Billy's garage who is getting people hurt because he believes this shit, right? And he's had a 2-day seminar. So he's coaching people on how to get better, right? That's the issues that I have with it. All right. But like you say, I like that it basically brought the attention to how impactful diet and nutrition are, and then moving and then being around like-minded people and training, right? Or, progressing through difficult tasks, man.
Yeah. Bro, we basically you pointed out everything that I agree with everything you just said, Taylor. Okay.
I know you do.
What I just don't like about CrossFit is it never prioritized getting a foundation, building a foundation, basic structural strength work. Okay, basic strength work. That's my biggest issue with it. Okay,
I agree with that.
But it never. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
No, because I see what you're saying, and that's I guess if you look at CrossFit at kind of like a certain level, but when you look at it on a different level, like when we ran CrossFit Metalize, our clients were always doing a squat cycle. They were always doing progressions and getting stronger on so many things. So a big part of it, and one of their issues is that they don't have a centralized sort of system, because exactly what you said, you can go to some gyms and they do strength right, and then they do quick little WODs, Metcons to get your heart rate up, and can be done quite well. And they focus on mobility, where you get other ones where it's just like, here's the WOD, go hurt. So, but there's different ways to do it. Okay, so then let me I'm going to ask one more question and we'll move on. But the man or woman that wins the CrossFit Games, where do you put them on, they call themselves the fittest person in the world. Where do you put them on that scale of actual fittest people in the world? Go ahead.
I think they're the best at the sport of CrossFit. I think that's it, because it's completely subjective, because CrossFit's created their own definition of fitness. So they're just the best at CrossFit. That's it to me. Okay. You're going to tell me that the world's fittest CrossFitter, the CrossFit Games champion, is more fit than the Olympic gold medal decathlon athlete?
How do you define fitness, though?
And
dude, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's the question. How do you define
That's the thing. But it's just those events. It's just those events that particular CrossFit game athlete performed the best in overall. So he's there to find the fittest guy on earth. A decathlete, those are 10 events that have been around for 2,000 years that I think really is a great test of overall fitness. If you look at all 10 of those events, it really tests everything pretty well. Okay. So I think you could absolutely make the argument that a decathlete is just as fit or more fit than than the current CrossFit Games champion. Does that make sense? And another problem with CrossFit is there's no standardization because every year the events are different, and that's why really since Matt Frazier, okay, there's been no dominant male CrossFit Games athlete, okay, because the events are different every year, and so it just favors different athletes. There's been no one dominant athlete really since Rich Froninger, Matt Frazier, and then Tia Claire Toomey. She's just, I think, heads and shoulders above the next best woman.
Yeah.
All right, that's just my opinion on that. But how would you guys define it? Is the CrossFit Games person, are they really the fittest athlete on the world?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think that you can really. You're always going to have that, like, well, how do you define, the one thing I will say, and maybe a counter argument, what you just said, Tanner, is the fact that they don't know what's coming and they can still go do it and do, is, kind of a certain form of fitness where, someone like a decathlete is super specialized in 10 things, so but yeah, I just thought I'd ask the question. I mean, I don't know.
Right, so it's all going to be purely subjective and opinion based, honestly. There's not going to be any right answer on that, in my opinion.
One thing I'll say, though, is, when CrossFit kind of came about, so this would have been about 16, 17 years ago, I remember, you'd always see online people like, well, if they were up against an NFL or something like that, they'd get smoked. And then they did an event with the NFL, Reebok, and CrossFit. And, NFL guys, they couldn't keep up with CrossFitters, but they were testing CrossFit stuff. And it was like, okay, well, obviously not. So, not really sure my point is.
Hey, bro, go tell a CrossFitter to line up across
exactly.
6'5", 350-pound offensive tackle.
But I'll go the opposite
to go sack the quarterback.
I'll go the opposite way. Let's say CrossFit was as popular as the NFL, all right, and these NFL guys trained for it for years. Like, who's to say that they're not going to be the fittest if they just train for it for a little bit?
Totally.
It's part of the competition too. That's what you have to consider.
And then the last thing I'll say is, like, also, I mean, people talk about CrossFit becoming a professional sport, and people out of, they start training now maybe when they're 13, 14, but still, if you're in the US or most places and you're a really good athlete, you're not going towards CrossFit. You're going to go to the NFL, NBA, baseball, NHL, whatever sport, professional sport you can go to if you are a super athlete. So,
thank you, John, for well said. Hey, guys, I got a question. How many high school athletes got college scholarships playing CrossFit last year?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I was like. It was like, man, to me, I don't know, man. It's
Okay.
fine.
This is my final thing, and I've heard it, and this is my overall opinion on CrossFit, right? Strength and conditioning should be used to become, proficient and better at sports. Strength and conditioning shouldn't be the sport in and of itself. Right. So,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
hey,
I
that
agree.
leads me to another one, though, Taylor. You might not know about this, and I agree with you, by the way. Okay? I agree with what you just said. Well said, by the way, bro. I think your opinions are, like, spot on. Scott, have you seen this thing? This called the Apex Athlete?
No.
Have you seen it? Okay, well, me and Andrew were talking about it, but there's like this new spin-off of like whatever CrossFit or High Rocks, and it's like now Apex Athlete, it's the sport of athleticism. So they have these competitions where they'll run a 40, they'll do like trap bar deadlift with like 315 for max reps, they'll bench 225, they test the vertical, they test like whatever, a mile or something. I can't remember. I don't even know all the events. Oh my God, bro. That's it. It's the combine for average people. Well said, Taylor.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. It's called.
No, that's what it is. God damn, dude. You just summarized it in 4 words. That's exactly what it is. If you guys haven't heard of that,
I'm looking it up.
Oh man,
so, dude, it's funny.
And
Dude,
then there's another one I saw that just came out that was something similar to what you're saying, Tanner, but it's basically High Rocks and CrossFit, a 10 event standardized thing they're going to do across the US,
I've
where
seen that.
basically you've seen where it's like they test a 1 rep max, basically 10 different events where for work capacity and blah, blah, blah. But it's standardized. So they're making the argument that, hey, it's a little bit more on the same level. Anyways.
Standardized CrossFit games. That's enough of that.
Yeah. So anyways, look, we have one more discussion question. We're going to get to our clients' questions, but the next one, because we talked about this, and we're going to start to bring on some guests to the podcast. We all know some people throughout our fitness careers who would be fantastic to talk to. So the question is, who would be one person in the fitness world you would love to talk to? You would kind of that person you would love to just have a conversation with. And we want to go ahead. Taylor.
So for me, one of them, and this is I've been a pretty American football player, but for me it'd be two of my strength coaches when I was in college, because I mean when I was younger and playing, your mindset is totally different, right? They're a position of authority. You really don't know anything about training in the most part. Okay, you just kind of go in there and do what you want to, and you spend a lot of time with these people, but you don't really get to know all that much about them. So when I was in college, we had this strength coach. His name was Dan Austin. He was like a little black bowling ball, bro. He's like 5'4". He held like the world record for his weight class for like the deadlift and a couple other things, man. And he was always a real chirpy, real motivating, but like kind of subtly kind kind of dude. And just now as an adult who's got a family and you have being coaching people and stuff like that, I would just like to kind of sit down with him and have a conversation with him about his training methodology, like how he succeeded, going through all that kind of stuff, man. So Dan Austin for me would be the one guy that I'd really like to sit down with and kind of pick his brain about stuff, man.
Okay. How about you, Scott?
Well, you bring up a good point. When you're with these strength coaches or with coaches in general, you're not able to talk to them in the same way as after you're done playing. So for me, man, I'd love to connect with Rusty Witt. I'd love to reconnect with this one strength coach for the Titans for a very long time, Steve Watterson, and he's legendary in the NFL community. He was actually the assistant head coach when I played there, because that's how important he was to the Titans. So I'd love to reconnect with him. He's since retired. And then obviously Yancey McKnight, I'd love to talk to him. But yeah, man, I think you bring up a good point about you can't freely and openly talk to these guys when you're playing, when you're in that position. So it'd be cool to reconnect with them.
Okay. And Tanner, how about yourself?
So I've talked to a lot of the guys that I've like really, really admired and looked up to already. Like I've talked to Dorian Yates. I talked to Mark Ripito. I talked to Stan Efferding. I talked to Evan Centopani. He's like my favorite bodybuilder because he just put out a lot of really good, helpful content. So I've talked to all those guys. But like, I think one guy that I would still like to talk to is I'd like Josh Bridges, the CrossFitter. Okay. He's like by far, he's always been my favorite CrossFitter. And I know I may not like the sport of CrossFit, but I can still like a CrossFitter. Even that sounds contradictory or hypocritical, but he'd be one guy just because I still, I respect him because he's, I think 43 or 44 still, he's older. And I still see him getting after it day in and day out and doing really hard things. And he's just he's upheld this incredibly high standard for himself. And I respect that. All right. I really respect that. So I would like to speak to him to like know what makes that guy tick. Like what is his purpose? What, continues to make him freaking train hard and push himself. Like I just saw that he went for a 460 back squat PR when he weighs like 160. Like, dude, at 43, he's fucking he's fucking going for it. 460 to be 160 pounds and to fucking be doing that at his age. Like, I know people might say, "Oh, that's stupid. Why do that?" But I'm like, why the fuck not? Like, if you can still do it and you want to push yourself and you're still trying to get better, I find that inspiring. So I would love to know, what makes that guy tick. Um, and then, yeah, I would love to reconnect with my college strength coach, Yancey McKnight. Of all the strength coaches I had in college, I think Scott would agree with me. Like, he was just the best. I can't put it any other way. Like, literally every player on our team respected him more than any other coach on our team, including our head coach. Like, he commanded more respect and was revered by our entire team. And just the way he coached us, like the standard he held us to. And I just think his quality of training and his mindset and his intensity was just, I've never had any better coaching than that, in my opinion, or at least my experience. I didn't have as much experience as Scott did because I never played at the next level. But yeah, so those two guys, Josh Bridges and Yancey McKnight, those would be two guys that I would love to talk to.
Yeah, but these college strength coaches are much better than the NFL ones because the NFL guys, they're just trying to keep guys safe.
Keep their job. And I think from my understanding, I think college coaches, they really have to develop the players. Whereas the guys in the pros, like you said, Scott, they just got to like keep them healthy. And I think from everything I've been told, the mindset is completely different once you make it to the NFL.
Well, big time, and money's the motivator in the NFL. In college, man, you have to get all these guys on the same page as a strength coach, and that shit's hard to do.
Oh yeah, for sure, it is.
And
So
the development years for a male, kind of 17 to 21, 22, super important, right?
yeah,
Super
dude,
important.
literally, I think the most important. Those are the most formative years, at least for me. And I was actually thinking about that. Like when I have a kid, hopefully, well, I have a kid, but if I have a son or whatever, even if it's I think where your kid goes to school or whether or not they go to school to university, I think that's a really important decision. Because that decision completely changed the trajectory of my life. So those are really important decisions in my opinion. Anyways. John, what about you? Who's someone you'd want to talk to?
Do you guys know who Rob Brindamore is?
I wish I did.
Or
Can't say
Rod
I've
the
heard that name.
Bod. So he's the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes in the NHL. Just won a Stanley Cup, but he had a 20-something year NHL career, and he was kind of known for being the first professional hockey player who took his fitness more seriously than anyone. And so now he's in his 50s, the head coach of a Stanley Cup winning team, and he's still got a six-pack and ripped. So
cool.
I think he'd be a guy to talk to because the NHL
word.
season is long and hard, and this guy would train through it. So kind of a pioneer for all the guys now who they train properly, but hockey players were kind of for a long time weren't the ones they didn't train. They were the guys smoking cigarettes between periods and.
Dude, I like Ovechkin, Alexander Ovechkin. Like he like willingly he just
useless.
fucking eats shit, and like drinks vodka, and he's still like the second best goal scorer.
Do you want to hear a funny stat about him?
Yeah,
He this year for the Washington Capitals, he didn't take a single face-off in his own zone. Okay, so,
Wait, so what's that? I don't know what that means.
So all the times he took face-offs would be in the offensive zone because he's too unfit to be a good defensive player anymore. So they only put him out when he's near scoring chances.
He's that valuable as a goal scorer.
He's the greatest goal scorer of all time. He's beaten Gretzky now, and that's it. He's unfit. They know it, and he's just out there, at 40 years old, kind of just
knifing.
yeah.
So.
That's like this is not really an apt comparison, but like I think of like Messi, especially because he's on everyone's mind because of the World Cup. But like he walks like 80% of the game. If you guys have heard that statistic, he's walking on the field like 80% of the time, and then when he gets the ball, because he's so good, he just knows exactly what to do with it. He'll just either score, he'll assist someone to score. It's kind of like that. But anyways,
Yeah, he is something to watch, right?
yeah, for sure he
Well,
is.
I like so John and Tanner, I like what you guys, who you guys both want to talk to, because it's guys who continue to find motivation and to find a reason to stay very fit as they get older. And man, like that, it's hard to do. And I'm very curious into other guys' motivation as they get older, because it changes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to. That's a good idea, John. Man, this is crazy because this podcast is like, I guess we're in our 7th episode, but I still consider it kind of in its infancy. But that'd be really actually badass to have some people that we genuinely like and, respect and look up to have them on the podcast. And I bet they would do it too, because, man, I always do podcasts. If anyone asks me to do a podcast, I almost always do it just because I think I respect that person enough that they're at least trying to put out content themselves and, go out there and grind and hustle. So I bet people would do it. But yeah, it's a good idea, man. Good idea.
All right. Well, look, we're going to get to some client questions, and then we'll move on. So the first one comes from Jerry Trifonas, and he says, with weightlifting shoes, what lifts do you wear them? So he's saying on Olympic weightlifting shoes. Also, when do you know, or what do you do when you need them on one lift and not another lift? Do you switch shoes? Example, overhead press, then you do a bent over wear. I'm assuming you don't want the heel and a flat shoe is preferred.
Do you want to go, John?
I'll go. I mean, Jerry, don't change your shoes. Just wear the same shoes. I mean, personally, I wear my weightlifting shoes for all my weightlifting things, including the bench press. Just put them on and don't think about it. And yeah, if you're doing a superset with the overhead press and a bent over row, you're going to be absolutely fine in your lifting shoes. It will not affect your lift in any way. Just don't wear your lifting shoes for running or cardio. That's my only thing. But
there you go. Always wear them for squats. Like, that's pretty much the most important time. I think you want to wear them, Jerry.
I know you guys don't agree with this, but overhead press, like, I'm not wearing my lifting shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was gonna get a good solid flat shoe, like a weightlifting, a gym shoe, use that for overhead press in my other days. But yeah, squats, definitely using a lifting shoe.
Yeah.
And so, Scott, here, I mean, because I did a lot of Olympic weightlifting, I would go argue the other way. You want, when you're in that front rack position, to be in the same position you'd be in your weightlifting shoes. So even if you're doing a strict press, you want to be in that same, heel position where you're pushing. So, and the same overhead position, which kind of changes a little bit with lifting shoes. So that'd be my counter argument.
I see the point. Honestly, I should be. You should be. All right. Yeah. So I guess, my answer is you should be. You should be.
Actually, I think the only answer is to let Taylor decide.
Let's
all right. What's Taylor's thought? Should we wear lifting shoes on overhead press or not? And that's the final answer.
So, if I walk into the gym, I'm gonna be wearing weightlifting shoes, bro.
Really?
That's how I approach it. Yeah. Right. And if I'll do them in box jumps and stuff, and if I'm doing weighted pull-ups, you know what? It's a little bit of extra resistance for my pull-ups, man. But I don't think there's any disadvantage when you're talking about lifting a weight or pushing something overhead to have a solid platform under your heel. Okay. I think it's only going to really be beneficial, man. So you don't need them for overhead press, right? But then again, and you could say you don't need them for deadlifts, but when I deadlift, I'm really just looking at increasing my clean and shit. So I'm going to wear weightlifting shoes, man.
Yeah.
Well, John loves this point, and I've brought it up before, but when I did 421-pound power clean, I did them in Vomero 5 Nike running shoes.
Yeah, cross trainers.
Right? You would have done 430 if you had weightlifting shoes on.
That's right.
Dude, honestly, that night, he would have done 430 if they just would have put it on the bar. I think he would have done anything that night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got?
So Jerry's second question is, I'm struggling with my squats. I feel like no matter what I do, I can keep my knees behind the top of my toes. what I do, I can. So I think he's saying I can't keep his knees behind the top of his toes. When I push my hips back, I feel like my upper body is now leaning forward too much using the shoes, and I just can't seem to get the form down right.
right.
Sounds like a very specific Jerry problem that we'll have to address.
I would look at that, but I just kind of want to address that really quickly, just general for everyone. Um, Jerry, I don't think it's a bad thing to let your knees come over your toes at all when you're squat. So if you're trying to keep your knees behind your toes, dude, I think you're trying to do it the wrong way. Matter of fact, but we'll get you a video, some loom feedback specifically. But the way I like to do squats and the way I think John and Taylor and Scott we prefer high bar squats with a lifting shoe with an elevated heel with a high degree of knee flexion, and you're not doing a low bar squat, which kind of increases hip flexion. And what happens when you do low bar squats too heavy too soon, it just turns into a good morning. And so you're really just bastardizing the squat altogether. And you're not really training your legs. You're basically just training your low back and glutes and hamstrings. And it's a great way to get injured, in my opinion. So, dude, I think letting your knees go over your toes is a good thing because it's going to train your quads and it's going to strengthen your legs a lot better. So I wouldn't try to keep your knees behind your toes when you're squatting. Just squat deep, let your knees track where they track. That's my answer for everybody, too.
I totally agree, man. I see these guys trying to like sit back in a chair, and I'm like, don't think about it so much. Just get your ass down.
Fucking squat, yeah.
Your knees will do the right thing. If anything, maybe Jerry, widen the feet out a little bit, make sure the knees are staying wide, but don't worry so much about like keeping those knees in line, at 90 degrees with the ground.
Yeah, let's get him a loom, please.
One thing I do want to talk about is I talk about that in instances of either like a lunge or a single leg squat, where if we're doing like a Bulgarian split squat, and we've got that leg behind us. In that case, I don't want to see the knee kind of past that toe threshold because essentially the posterior chain is going to kind of shut off when we're talking about that movement. So to make sure that we're still engaging the glute and the hamstring, that's when I kind of want to see the knee not traveling so far forward. But if you're in a squat, man, I just want the heel to be flat. All right, and you to have a good posture. And if the knee comes out further past the toe, then that's fine. Okay, you just might have a little quad dominant squat, but that's like different than a single leg, in my opinion.
I agree.
Good point.
Good designation.
Next question comes from Brent Esk, and he says, is doing medium intensity cardio on a rest day counterproductive or good?
It's good. It's good to flush. It's good to flush the system, get the blood flowing. It pumps blood through the muscle tissue that you've torn down. It carries repair material, and it carries out that metabolic garbage, right? So it's just like a system flush, as long as it stays medium intensity. A lot of guys come in there and they push it way too hard, and that's where it's going to hurt your recovery for that next real workout.
Yep. Well said, Scott. So I literally did that this morning. Today's Wednesday. I didn't lift weights. I did 5 1K rows at like a 2-minute pace or slower even. So it's just easy. You're just promoting blood flow and movement. And so it's totally fine to do, Brent. I don't think you have to do it, but if you want to go into the gym and do something, do some low intensity, like steady state cardio, and absolutely fine. And it can also improve kind of your zone too. So if it improves your aerobic base, if you have a good aerobic base, that actually improves your recoverability too. So something that's important for people to keep in mind, like do some longer, slower cardio once a week, twice a week. If you have time and you want to do it, it's not going to hurt anything. It will actually only help you recover.
Yeah, and I think, Brent, if you're listening, it just really depends on what medium intensity cardio is to you, right? Okay. It shouldn't be 2 hours of something hard and, it leaves you smoke. So you should, kind of finish and like you're not destroyed. Yeah. Okay. This next one comes from Justin, no last name, but Justin says, we know sleep and recovery are just as important as training and nutrition. If someone wakes up early, works out, then comes home and sleeps for another hour or two before going to work, does that provide the same recovery benefits as getting 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep? Tanner?
I don't think it's the same, but if you have time to take that whatever 1 or 2 hour nap before you go into work, I think it's better to take that nap than not take the nap. Okay, like sleep is so important, and if you can find a way to get an extra hour of sleep, even if it's not unbroken sleep, I think it's better to take that extra hour to get to sleep than not take it. As far as from a recovery standpoint, okay. So in the grand scheme of things, I doubt it makes a big difference. I would tell him to try to get 7 or 8 hours of unbroken sleep, but if he can't do it and he can sneak in another hour before he goes to work, do it. It's not going to hurt anything. It'd probably just help a bit. That's my answer.
Well, and yeah, you have to remember that sleep moves through 90-minute cycles, and that growth hormone release and that tissue repair happens in certain cycles. It's better to get the natural cycles throughout and get the full amount of sleep. But man, Tanner's right. Like, more sleep is always better. More sleep's always better. But sleep isn't just a bank account where you can just throw in any amount of sleep and it all counts the same.
Yeah. What I'll say is, this is actually just sitting next to me. I've been reading this book. It's called At Day's Close: A History of Nighttime. And do you know, humans, for actually most of our existence, we didn't sleep full nights. We would actually go to sleep, wake up somewhere in the middle of the night for a few hours, and we'd have to tend to the fire, tend to things around, and then go back to sleep for a few more hours. And actually, it's a modern invention because of the invention of lights and that sort of thing that we actually have these designated 8 hours of sleep. So for the most part, we've had broken sleep where it's a couple hours, and then there's these times you wake up very reflective. People used to do things like just stare at the stars, have sex, and then go back to sleep. Turns out for a lot of our sort of development. So I actually think my answer is just, if it makes you feel good and feel better, Justin, do it. But I don't think it's totally unnatural. Scott.
So John, are you whenever you wake up from one of these cycles, are you going outside and looking at the stars and reflecting and then going back to sleep? Like,
I am not. I'm just saying this is how humans evolved.
Yeah,
But,
no, it is a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah, so,
And it does make sense, like the
Right.
fire thing and all that.
yeah.
Yeah, but then all right, this is think about whatever 1,000,000 or 200,000 years ago, like if we didn't have to tend to the fire, would we have woken up to tend to it? If we would have figured out how to not, you know what I'm saying? So
Totally.
you guys get what I'm saying, right?
I
get
get
what
it.
you're saying, John. But if we would have figured out a way where we didn't have to tend to the fire, we could have just slept through the night. Maybe we would have, So I don't know.
Fair
Either
enough.
way. All right, let's move on.
But if you can sleep after a workout for 2 hours, like that's not a bad thing, honestly.
No, it's not.
No. I do find it tough after a hard workout to go right to sleep, though. But it's also the caffeine and all that stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Next question comes from Casey Pedroza, and he says, will high sets give the same results as high reps? So he says an example of 8x4 versus 3x12. No, but
No.
who wants? Taylor, why don't you answer?
I would say no. All right, because you're demanding different things in the muscles. Okay, when you're doing 2 or 3 reps, your sets are going to be 6 to 12 seconds, right? As opposed to higher rep sets where you're going to be under load and your time under tension is going to be 45 to 50 minutes, right? Or seconds, excuse me. And not only that, and this is kind of an overgeneralization, but you have your power reps, your strength reps, your hypertrophic reps, and your endurance reps, and that kind of goes through a line of progression. All right, so doing 10 sets of 2 at 90+% of your power clean max is not going to be the same thing as doing 2 sets of 10. All right, and that's kind of a gross exaggeration, but yeah, there's significant difference between those.
Yeah. And another thing I would even argue is, let's say you're talking about doing 10 sets versus 2 sets. The 10 sets are probably going to take you at minimum 20 minutes, where 2 sets, If it's taking you over 10 minutes, then you're just resting too long, right? So, yeah, you're spreading out those reps with a lot more rest.
Yeah, I'll just say generally speaking, just for everyone else, whenever you're doing high sets, low reps, that's almost always going to be strength work, purely strength. And whenever you're doing less sets, higher reps, that's always going to be pretty much hypertrophy or accumulation. All right, generally speaking, for most people. I just started an accumulation phase on my squats on Monday. I haven't done any back squats this entire year. So I'm putting myself through the top set of 10 and then back off sets of 10 for the next 3-4 weeks, just like we do with every client. I'm doing it myself, but I'm not doing it for strength.
How's
Go
your knee
ahead.
feeling, Tanner?
My knees are good now, thankfully, but my freaking legs are super sore because I hit 3 sets of 10 on Monday and I just haven't been doing that. So like, dude, you know how you get really sore in your upper inner thighs? So I'm definitely dealing with that right now. I'm going to do it at least 2 more weeks. I want to hit 365 for a set of 10 in 2 weeks. I've done 405 for 11 before. I'm not trying to do that right now, but I want to finish this accumulation phase with 365 for a set of 10.
That's the soreness where getting on and off the toilet hurts, right?
Yeah.
So here's the challenge, bro. Can you squat for 10 what Scott can bench for 1? That's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
I think I could if someone was holding a gun to my head. Well, actually, it depends on if Scott benches 405 next week. I don't know if I could do 405 or 10 next week.
You think I'm going 405 next week?
Well, I'm just saying if.
You could give it a shot, bro.
Yeah. Try. The worst thing that's going to happen would be a good workout. All right. Sorry, John.
It's okay. Casey's second question: what is everyone's favorite out of the gym physical year-round activity?
Man, this is you remember Danny Ball, Tanner?
Dude, I was thinking that, and then I have another one that I really do enjoy doing, but I just can't do it anymore, which sucks. But go ahead, Scott. Yeah, go ahead. Explain what Danny Ball is for all the
You can do a
listeners.
better job of it. That was so much fun. It was the hardest. It's competitive. It's hard.
Yep. So Danny Ball is kind of a made-up game where it's 2-on-2. You're playing on a sand volleyball court, and you're using a 10-pound Dynamax med ball, and essentially you're throwing the ball over to each other, and you're playing it just like tennis, where the ball can't, or what it's like ping pong. Basically, the ball can't hit the ground. You have to throw it, and the other team has to catch it, and in one movement, okay, they have to throw it back. Okay, so they can't catch it, gather their steps, and then throw it. They have to catch it and immediately throw it right back. So it's incredible for like strength, and core agility. That's a lot of fun, and it's also a really hard workout if you're like got really good players, like athletes that can really sling the ball, and you're running around on sand, which is hard. That was actually created by a well-known trainer called Ian Danny. I think he's based in Arizona. That's a great pastime, Scott. Good answer.
Also, like
Anybody?
for me, I'll just say just hiking, getting out in nature, hiking. I went to Yosemite. This is a few years back, but man, that was like the best experience. Best experience. So now I try to go out and hike and mountain bike as much as I can too. It's two of my favorite things.
Yeah, I was going to say this. Just a hike anywhere is just something. I was just hiking in Scotland a while ago. It's just incredible. Up a mountain.
Yeah.
Taylor?
I guess it depends on where you live, if you can classify it as year round, but mountain biking in general, man. Like, obviously in the winter, I would prefer to ski here, but you can still do it here. But yeah, I live like in what are called the Port Hills of Christchurch. So I've got a big network of, mountain bike trails that run all through the hills, man. So I can just hop on the bike and go out the garage and, I'm in some pretty world-class bike trails, man. So definitely mountain biking.
Yeah,
Wow, dude, that's amazing. I've always wanted to live in a house where you could just mountain bike right outside your house and get on some mountains.
I got one right, like a whole network right there, bro. Literally like a 5-minute ride up a hill and I'm there.
Scott, have you seen the Lord of the Rings movies?
Yeah.
Well, that's where Taylor lives.
Oh, wow.
They were all shot in New Zealand, right? So,
Wild.
I got to get down there for a trip.
Mountain bike's amazing, and I'm sure Taylor you'd agree with this because you get into a flow zone. You know, it's
Yeah.
hard to get there at our age, honestly. You know,
Singular focus, man, is what I pretty much chase, man. That's kind of my addiction, right? Like when
yeah,
you're not thinking about anything else other than the moment and the task at hand. And when you feel like it's effortless and you're just kind of one with it, man, the flow state, as you say, like that's what life is about, man. Those like subtle moments alone.
Yep. That's why I like lifting. I
Yeah,
feel like I'm still able to get in that flow state
for sure.
when I'm doing like a heavy deadlift, or it could be like a heavy snatch, but it's just like absolute 100% focus and intent on just that one thing, and you're not thinking about anything else. And it's amazing because you're living right in that exact moment. It's incredible. Yeah. That's a good answer. Good question.
Okay. Matt Carver has a question. He says, what rack and what plates do you recommend for a home gym? Tanner?
All right. This is just my opinion, but I wouldn't do it any other way. I would go with Eleiko, and I would get the Prestera. You can literally get on their website and you can get with a sales rep and they'll build it out for you. Actually, Matt, I know a guy. I can send you his number because I just bought an Eleiko barbell like 3 days ago. And I would do that. That's exactly what I would do, but I'm partial to Eleiko. I just think they have the best equipment, by far the best barbells. They're more expensive, but I would just pay the money if it was me. Like that's all I'll ever buy is Eleiko, and their plates are the best too.
Yeah.
So, but there's other good ones. So just John, Taylor,
Look,
Scott, you
look,
guys.
Matt Carver, I'm going to go ahead and say like Rogue equipment is made in the USA, not Sweden like Eleiko. If you want to keep USA proud, that'd be my
No, just
that'd be
buy
my
Matt.
go-to.
Just buy an American car. Just buy an American car, bro. You're gonna be good. I would,
oh wow,
I
dude,
mean, look, I'll just like
go ahead.
Rogue does make decent stuff, and it's and at a better price point. So because the Eleiko stuff is very expensive, I 100% agree with you, Tanner. It's just you got if the budget's there, then go for it. If not, I think Rogue's good. I actually don't know much else you can really get. So
Yeah,
There's other ones.
strength and stuff like that. But
Sorinex.
Mhm.
There's a lot of different equipment manufacturers.
there are.
God, I can't even remember, but there's a lot.
If it were me though, it'd be those two though.
Yeah.
You know, like might as well go Rogue. It's good. It's cheap. Get the West Side hole spacing. You know,
Yeah.
to make sure that you can get the safety, the safety arms. You know, just right if you're bench pressing alone. And I'm partial to Vulcan bumper plates. I have some myself. I like those.
Vulcan, never even heard of that. I'm a little bit sour because I've been having to train on nothing but Rogue gear because that's the gym, and I've been tearing my neck up with this Rogue barbell with really aggressive center knurling, and we have Rogue bumper plates, and I just like I don't like them that much. The Eleiko ones I have are so much better. I just miss those. So this is purely opinion, Matt.
yeah, of course.
That's all. It's purely opinion, man. Get what you feel is good for you.
Okay. Our last question comes from Matham, and he wants to know, I want to know the opinion of the coaches on mixed grips on heavy deadlifts.
It's good. That's a good question. We might have different opinions on that one.
Okay, well, Tanner, you
All right.
you don't use a mixed grip, am I correct?
You are correct. I do not use a
Smart
mixed
man.
grip.
Smart man.
Yeah. So I'll just tell you my thoughts on it. I did use a mixed grip for a long time, but I feel like when you're using a mixed grip over time, especially if you get pretty strong, you will develop like some imbalances or some asymmetries, like in your low back or lats. Because man, you're not using both sides of your back the same way when your hands are using a switch grip. So then I transitioned into a double overhand grip, and it took me a little while to get comfortable pulling double overhand and then using a hook grip. But once I did that, it just feels so much better and more symmetrical and more even. And I didn't have any more back issues once I switched over to a double overhand grip. Okay, but there's one caveat. Like one of the best deadlifters in the world, his name's God, John Hawk or Hack, like Bilbo Swaggins. He's one of the best top powerlifters. Dude, he deadlifts like 900 with a switch grip. So he's like one of the best in the world. So I really do feel like it's kind of personal preference. But another thing with a switch grip, especially if you're strong, you can risk tearing a bicep, with that underhand grip. And so that's another reason that I didn't want to do it, because I don't want to tear a bicep
Yeah,
deadlifting something. Yeah, you know. So, and you'll never tear a bicep with a double overhand grip ever. So that's my answer. Sorry, what do you guys think?
I mean, I actually do agree with you on the hook grip, but at the same time, because for the most part, I always did use a mixed grip, and I was just always careful to make sure if I'm doing one set this way, my next set is this way. So I'd go back and forth. And I never had an issue switching back and forth. So, yeah, I mean, I think both are quite good. I know a lot of people like that if you're doing the double overhand with the hook grip, the hook grip hurts. Like it's going to hurt the thumbs a bit. So I see why people might not do it, but also man up.
Yeah, man up. But just keep doing it. Just keep doing the hook grip. You'll get used to it. I promise you, you'll get used to it.
Yeah.
Double overhand too. It transitions into the Olympic lifts too. Like you don't want to take away from that.
For sure.
Plus, it looks way more badass.
True.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're in agreement there. So, look, it's been a good hour, fellas. Tanner, please give our regards to your baby for being nice and quiet,
And your amazing wife for allowing you to do things like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, she just walked out. I wish she would have heard you say that, Taylor. It's all right. It's all right. I'll tell her you said she's amazing.
Is
She
the
is
baby
amazing.
right there? Wow.
Oh yeah, bro, you got the
Good
little
baby.
ring pillow.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Yeah, she
enjoy it.
just
Enjoy just
sitting there.
letting them like lay there, and not having to
Yeah.
run around.
Yeah, she's just, yeah, I know. Watching her now is like pretty easy because she can't do much. As long as she's not like, whatever, cranky or hungry, then she'll let you know. But for the most part,
Like you.
she's a pretty good baby. Yeah. Yeah. Like me. Yeah.
You like
All
this
right.
Abraham Lincoln beard that you got going on, bro. You look so wise.
Thank you.
All right, fellas. Well, hey, appreciate it. We're back next week. We'll update you guys on the guests that are coming on. Hope everyone trains hard and has a great week. Thank you.
Good call,
Yeah.
man. Appreciate you.